Hello. Hello. Hello.
Jason with the 23-month tier 1 sub. Hello.
Yeah. Blah 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 blah. Blah 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 blah. Alright, hang on. Water. Right here. Coke. Because sometimes I might just want sugar. Right here. But it's fizzy right now, so I'm not gonna drink it. And scene transition! Where the fuck is my hair? Where is my hair? What happened to my hair? Where is it? There it is. And then stop doing the himbo. Oh, it's because I was holding shift. Because, like, when someone does a subscription, this happens, but sometimes this doesn't stop. And so when I was holding, and it probably didn't stop because I was holding shift, which does this, which gets rid of my hair. I lost my hair because of Jason. They subscribed for 23 months and they made me lose my hair for a minute there, and I didn't see it for like however long I was on the, getting started screen, because I don't just like, I'm not like what's his name? Narcisse. I'm not like Narcisse where I'm just sort of like, oh, look at this handsome zebra. Look at him. Look at him with his massive pecs and his great like faux mohawk and the stripes. There is no greater furry persona out there in the world. There is nothing better than this himbo zebra. I mean, look at these pecs. I'm not like Narcisse that way. Someone shaved Grant's head. Someone did! Dicks! But I now have my hair back. So, happy Monday, everyone. Some of you may have seen me streaming back on Sunday morning for the Fortnite tournament. That was something. How's your butt? I think it's getting better. Oh, you know what I need to do? I forgot to do this. I need to turn back on all the different redeems that I turned off because of the Fortnite tournament. Hang on a second. Yeah, so enable that. I'm not using the stretches. Video redeem, turn that on. Cake cam, turn that on. Himbo cam, turn that on. The biggest fan is enabled. Pixelating the Zeebs is enabled. Pull the lever, turn that on. Rainbow effect. Oh wait, no, I already have it, rainbow effect, so turn that off, leave that one on. Bonking zebra, yep. Booping, yep. Cactar attack, yep. Cookie, yep. Did you see it? Yep. Anvil, apparently I can't oh, there we go. Now I can enable it. Enable that. Enable dropping something.
Pull the lever,
No. Self-care, yep. Traffic cone, yep. Then all the different sounds. The hello there's, the nut. The TTS bot. The Wii bowling. The zebra thingy-madiggy. The D himbo. The extra himbo. The maid outfit and the shirt. We can turn all those back on. Then squats or femur. I don't want to do them. That is honestly my reaction, is I don't want to do them. This is going to probably be my this is probably going to be my last week of streaming before I go on holidays to the United States. In October 12th, I'm going to be going to the United States to attend a wedding and be with family, and it's going to be a long fucking... I can't give you my femur right now. I need it, bone. So I am going to need... like, this week, I'm going to be streaming tonight. I'm going to be streaming Wednesday night as per usual. I'm going to be streaming Friday night with Code. I need to check in with Code if he will stream with me. I will be streaming Saturday night, which is the party game stream. And then that's it. That's it for most likely October, because I won't be back in the country until like the 28th. I'm going to be gone from October 12th to October like 25th or 28th. And so because I'm going to be in the States, I won't be able to do any kind of streaming nonsense while I'm up there, not unless someone decides to, gift me a whole ton of mobile streaming nonsense, but I don't think that's going to work, because sure, half of this Twitch resources is like sitting in my OneDrive, but not the OBS with all of its thingamadiggies, and none of the 3D VTuber programs, and I don't want to do like an IRL walking around US stream, because I don't want to dox my family or anything like that. Bone is owned one femur. I will figure out how to get you your femur another day. How are we going to survive without Zeebs? Well, perhaps checking out my TikTok, checking out my Twitter, checking out... if you do clip anything from this stream or any of my previous streams, you're probably going to find it on TikTok. So if you ever miss out on any of these kinds of streams because you're falling asleep, furry cures, then you might have an opportunity of seeing, some interesting stuff on TikTok. Highly recommend it. As for, outside of that, what am I going to do in my mornings or my evenings? Hi there, Hendrix. Maybe you'll sleep in. Maybe you'll finally get around to doing that little project you always wanted to do. Or perhaps, talk to your loved ones. Remind them that you're still alive. And maybe you've been looking at a furry for, however long that he's been streaming and what have you. Man, I'm going to be flying on my birthday of all days as well. my dad was just sort of like, oh, that's kind of a raw deal, flying like on your birthday. The benefit is, however, is that I'm leaving Australia on my birthday in the morning, and I'm arriving in the US basically in the afternoon of my birthday, I believe. So like I get to have like a very long extended day of like my birthday. It's just so happens to be a long extended day of flying alongside with it, which isn't, you know, maybe 100% great, but you take what you can. So it's 1 a.m. for Hendrix. Yeah, see? Like, if I'm not streaming, Hendrix could go to sleep a lot sooner and sleep in and all this kind of nonsense. So I imagine I'm going to come back after like 2 or 3 weeks, or I'm going to come back like on Halloween or some shit, and all of a sudden I'm going to have like 2 viewers. I'm going to have Furry Cures coming in, or maybe it's Bone asking for his femur, and then Jason, because shout out to Jason, always being there for me as a moderator. Very much appreciate it. Thank you so much, Jason. Booger breath. Why do I have the fuck do boogers smell like? Any whoosies. What have I... Today was a day off, but quite frankly, it was just a day of me not really doing much. I did a little bit of Final Fantasy. I went back into Blender, and I did like a funny little not safe for work thingy-majiggy, so if you're fine with that kind of nonsense, it's over on my Twitch, it's over in my Blue Sky. That's the other thing. I got a Blue Sky, and I'm slowly improving that. What's up, Hendrix? Download a movie on your phone.
Pull the lever.
You're always on call. Oh, goddammit. Ah!
Huh?
No, don't. Yeah. Alrighty then. Let's get into the game. So, hang on. Click onto here. Click on game. Sorry, I just need to make sure voice mod is running. And pause the music in the background. This is my mech suit. It's a very weird golden boy with like the red hot rod shit, but that was, by the way, you finished a 5-hour tow an hour ago? Jesus Christ. Why are people traveling like 5 hours? Like, was this someone who has like 5 hours away from their place, or you had to go to some place to tow them?
To elaborate.
And the time it took you to get back from the tow was 5 hours. My goodness. Oh, everyone's coming out of the woodworks with their fucking lever. Masonic's just pulling the lever and all this kind of such. Are you gonna be like, what's a Mahuzi? Kiaru, who's like, I don't listen to them because they're British. It is kind of funny that it was just sort of like, oh yeah, I just was missing what they were saying half the time. Don't know how I feel about that kind of thing. Dukes. Deployed in a test run. No. Alrighty. Let's get into the groove of things with a fun little prediction fight. We're gonna go up against Gun 2 Nile. They look to be a bit of a heavy boy. And let's have a look. And this is what my guy looks like with the twin songbirds, a grenade launcher, and my plasma sword. I could probably adjust it for like a little more, maybe I can do like a little more just sustaining damage with the machine gun here, and then using the songbirds. That might be a better thing to do. Ooh, we got some big numbers in here. We got 1,000 points from someone saying, yeah, I'm gonna do it on the first go, and we got 3 different people saying, nah, it's not gonna happen. Thank you, Hendrix, for believing in me. Alrighty. Also, I need to alt-tab so I can actually see my, dashboard or something or rather. Alrighty. Because normally the dashboard will say, like, oh, this is how many minutes till the, thingamadiggy is done.
You have now reached rank A.
So this is now rank A stuff. And the prediction will close in, like,
Call sign
30 seconds from now. Oh boy.
commencing evaluation.
Main system.
Main systems. Alright. Pause. Alright. When it gets down to like 5 seconds, I'm gonna hit start and we're gonna do and I'm gonna keep on going. Bubble butt. Yes, I have a bubble butt. There are some people, I remember going onto a VR chat and some people have like some real like, boom, 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 like real shaky butts. And it's honestly insane how they do it. I have not done any further work into the, also, what in the world is with my input settings? Use the cane pad, there we go. I've not been able to get into Blender as much as I wanted to after dropping the Wednesday Blender streams, but the reason I dropped the Blender Wednesday streams is because I would just be watching YouTube tutorials during those streams to do my 3D thing, rather than being like more of a 3D thing. But ever since I stopped it, it's like very rarely going into Blender, which is a bit of a weirdy thing. I need to somehow unlock my brain from the normal 88, like the normal autism of, oh, I'm going to do the exact same thing as normal. There's no room for me, you know, doing something completely different on my days off. Alrighty, we got our votes in. Let's go. There he is. Oop.
AP at 50%.
Oop.
AP at 30%.
Oh. Got him. Oh my god, I only had 1,651 health left.
Evaluation. Well done.
Yeah. Thank you, Hendrix, for believing in me. Excellent work. Oh, it's fantastic having big numbers. Did I win that fight? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Congratulations. Look at that. Furry Cures puts 1,000 points on me and fails. Sir Dragon, Masonic, you all failed. Oh, excuse me. My throat did a weird thingamadiggy. We got new chips. We got a new new mech. We got a new emblem. Furry Cure is just shouting, boo. Alrighty, OS tuning. Let's have a look. Let's improve the fucking explosions. And let's see, energy output, melee weapons. Let's improve them. Alright, direct damage is probably going to be the next thing.
Furry Cures 1221 paid me to say go suck a lemon.
Cookie for Hendrix. Alright, do we want to do the next one? Let's see, V2 Snail. The deputy command... Let me start the prediction again.
Glug, glub, glug, glub, glug.
Alright, let me take a drink.
Okay, that's it. I'm gonna spit in your mouth.
The deputy commander of the Vespers, the Arquipus Group's augmented human squad. After receiving Generation 8 augmentation surgery, Snail continued to receive follow-up treatments as new technologies entered the mainstream so as to make their merits his own. Many augmented humans have died in order to assume the safety of this repeated adjustments. Alrighty, I don't think I am going to change anything about my mech, quite frankly. And I did it again. I went into the fight too soon. There's less than a minute before this is closed, and quite frankly...
Evaluation program.
Hang on.
Number 6, rank A.
This is what he looks like. Alright, so he's got...
Subject AC. Open faith.
Ooh, it looks like he's got some plasma-looking shit going off, and some, like, you know, real crazy-looking explosive weapon on one of his hands.
Main system.
And we're on this battlefield. Alright, so we need to be mindful. And I don't know if I've ever seen them with, like, an attack bar on the top. I swear to God. Oh, it will be hilarious if 3 people are very confident in my success, and there's a person who's put down 10 points. They are 1 in 285. That person, they're either gonna have like no loss whatsoever, or they're going to win so big. Alrighty then, let's see. Let's see. Alright, he must be behind the thingy-madoods. Come on. There he is. Oh. Oh.
At 50%. AP at 30%.
Oh. Oh. Nah. Oh my god. He surprised me. He surprised me. I did some very bad moves, like, because I do this thing where if I'm pressing the left and right bumper while I'm holding onto the left thumbstick, it looks like I'm pressing into it. Oh my goodness, Masonic. You madman. You absolute Chad. Jesus Christ. You put 10 points in, and you got 2,890 points back. Alrighty. We're going into the assembly. We're gonna do another prediction, and we're going into the assembly to adjust shit, because this thing is a fucking mess. Alright, I need to change... So it looks like these things have much better ranges, which I should be working on.
Onyx_Severus paid me to say because you smell.
I don't smell. Don't be ridiculous. I knew I shouldn't have believed in your ass. You flip-flop from one stance to another, Furry Cures. You do this so many times. Alrighty. I'm gonna do the big gun. And that is probably my better weapon. Actually, I do... Like, it's probably worth... Nah, but... Because I'm using this more often as a closer, and because I'm holding down the trigger, I get to do the two-ease.
Icy is cute, uwu.
Icy is very cute. You are absolutely correct. Alrighty. This one has better arms and recoil, but it absolutely stinks on the melee. What does this do? It reduces the thrust, but it gives me better upwards and QB thrust. The consumption is lower. The reload speed is higher. The boost speed is a lot... Oh, god damn it. You're wasting all your points. What are you doing? Alrighty, 10 seconds remaining from... And here I am betting high again. You have no one to blame but yourself, Furry Cures. This is the art of gambling, okay?
Activating combat mode.
Activating combat mode. Alrighty, so. There he is. Oh. Boobies!
AP at 50%.
Oop.
AP at 30%.
That was a lot. Okay. He's a lot faster, and he's doing a lot of discharge nonsense, which I don't like one bit. That was insanity. We are going to not deal with this guy. Language, Furry Cures. We are not going to deal with this guy tonight, otherwise I'm going to be stuck doing arenas more than this. This is what I should be working on. I should be going through the rest of the fucking mission here. I should be doing more of the sorties.
61. Depth 3 is next, and it's where our intel gets sparse.
Mm-hmm.
It's an underground cave, blocked at the end by a high-powered laser barrier.
Okay.
As long as it's in operation, no one's getting any deeper inside.
You're just going to be doing 10 to 100 points from now on. Forget betting high. If other people bet high, I think it'd be a lot more fun for you, quite frankly. I think the economy of the Zebra, like, channel points is really low right now. Because not a lot of people contribute into it, so there's not, like, a lot of motion in the economy. It's all very stale, because there's not much means of, you know, getting it back another way. Like, the only times I do these predictions is either, like, sure things, like, when it was with Mortal Kombat, or with this one, where it's, like, a very low chance of success and what have you, and it's not like, oh, it could be going either way kind of nonsense. Alright, first and foremost, alright, we're swapping over to you, keep to you. Alright. You, however, we are going to swap over to you. Yes, because these things have better, like, scanning capabilities. The scan effect duration is a lot longer. I don't know how big this place is going to be, though. Alrighty. Alright, so we got, like, the stun... Because that's what the guy was using before, was the stun needle, which was a little bit insanities. Alright, we're gonna go with the missile launcher on the right bumper. And... what is our generator? Can we go for a smaller generator? No, we... The boosts would be different. Yeah, that's probably one of our better ones. 3K to 5.8. Look at Hendrix. Hendrix is doing, like, some real interesting, like, throwing in there. You went from 6K to 3K in a matter of 10 minutes.
Cool convergences. What makes him so confident?
Jason! You should be contributing to this thing! 111K? Stop trying to have a monopoly! You should get in on this thing! I can finish off on the predictions and what have you. You are? You're clearly not putting a lot of points into it when you can.
Destroy the reactor and disable the laser barrier.
Oh, I remember the mission I was in before. Alrighty then. Nice Himbo rating.
Watch your footing. You don't want to fall into those lasers.
High-level threat detected. Threat level. Defense phase 4.0. Terminating target.
This area is defended by snipers. Don't let them shoot you down.
High-level threat. That's a step up from intruder.
No sign of the corporations. Looks like we're the first ones here.
AP at 50%. Two repair kits remaining.
Okay, I don't know how I would dodge the laser under normal circumstances, I'm gonna be real with you. Alright, reload you. Nice, cute rating, by the by, Jason. Nice work. Problem. Shit.
Trace around the outside, 621. There must be a way in.
The hell is that? Alright, looks like there's another wreck we can look at. Observation data extracted from an AC of unknown affiliation appears to have been heavily encoded and then cracked by a third-party system. The enforcement has been buried deep within the Rubicon at all this time. Little wonder that the suppression field was so quick to arrive. For now, we shall monitor the observer's actions and provide indirect aid to the Arbiquis. Okay. Hi, Code! No, don't pull the lever! Alrighty, moving on. Yoink.
Okay, that's it. I'm gonna spit in your mouth.
Go. ICS. I was hoping it do a mech thing. Oh, I am not that clever to adjust my channel points that much, Code. Please. The thing will remain as it is. Alrighty. Let's have a look.
Hello.
Go. Reload you. How's it going, Code? Oh, looks like there's a door. Alright, knowing my luck, there's gonna be something there's something over there. You're sleepy? That's fine. Fair enough. Nah. Alright, looks like nothing. Don't imagine they would try me rushing forward or anything like that, because the defense system is still in that weird grid thing. Alrighty. Donk.
Find the pressure chamber, 621. Destroy it, and the resulting overload will cause the reactor core to explode.
The threat has entered the reactor. Defense phase 4.5.
Oh.
Fight back, Raven.
They really went above and beyond to keep that laser barrier going. The PCA wanted this place locked down no matter what.
There we go. Now I get my...
Defense weapon destroyed. The pressure chamber is behind that partition.
You sipped a 5-hour energy drink 3 hours ago and you're waiting for it to wear off? Well, okay, so my math might not be great, but if you sipped it like 3 hours ago, it should go away in like 2 hours. That's my thinking on the whole thing. If you cared about my numbers.
There, 621. Destroy the target.
Give me a minute. I am curious if there's... No, there isn't. Okay.
Pressure chamber destroyed. Get out of there before it explodes, 621.
The partition!
Oh, Jesus.
Program phase 5.0. Haven't ceased terminating threat.
No vital sign. Meltdown in progress. Calculating time until core explosion.
Yep.
Raven, there's only 2 minutes left.
Yeah, first problem, I need to get out of here.
AP at 50%. AP at 30%.
Don't exactly have a good way of dealing with this fucking moonblade of a user, and I don't know if I was supposed to be in this hole, because all the doors are locked.
AP at 30%.
You sipped a little bit of it, still has more than half left. Still, like, I'm pretty sure half of a 5-hour energy drink is still 5-hour energy drink. You're always in the hole. I'm just trapped in this fucking reactor. So, like, I go out from, like, one side to another. Oop, if I can get out. And then...
There, 621. Destroy the target.
Alright. Dun, 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 dun. There we go, so that reloads
Pressure
that.
chamber destroyed. Get out of there before it explodes, 621.
The partition!
Defense program phase 5.0. Haven't ceased terminating threat.
Yep.
No vital signs. There's no pilot.
That's Institute Tech. 621, there's no time. Get rid of it.
AP at 50%.
Nope.
Meltdown in progress. Calculating time until core explosion. Raven, there's only 2 minutes left.
Upgrade to threat level 9. Terminating.
AP at 50%. One repair kit remaining.
Where the fuck is this moonblade look fucking dude? There he is.
AP at 50%. AP at 30%.
I have no clue where the fuck he is. Got-
No repair kits remaining. AP at 30%.
Ah, it's gonna be like that, isn't it? It's gonna be like that. Oh boy. Alrighty, assembly time. Double songbird, and let's go. Let's see how the Zimmerman. It's gonna be like that. Let's give it a go.
There, 621. Destroy the target. Pressure chamber destroyed.
Here we go.
621.
The partition!
Defense program phase 5.0. Haven't ceased terminating threat.
No vital signs. There's no pilot.
That's Institute Tech. 621, there's no time. Get rid of it.
AP at 50%.
Meltdown in progress. Calculating time until core explosion. Raven, there's only 2 minutes left.
Upgrade to
Raven.
I didn't even get any of my shields. Sorry, not any of my shields. Any of my health, like, shot off. Oh boy. The fuck is this dude? Because clearly I need to get through this place. This wasn't like a secret boss or anything like that. Alright, yeah. Down is the scan thingy-majiggy.
Destroy the target.
Here we go.
Pressure chamber destroyed. Get out of there before it explodes, 621.
Mm-hmm. Problem is, it
The
is.
partition.
Defense program phase 5.0. Pattern speed. Terminating threat.
Once again, did it.
Meltdown in progress.
Did it again, where like...
Core explosion. Raiden, there's only 2 minutes left.
Upgrading to threat level 9. Terminating.
AP at 50%. AP at 30%. No repair kits remaining.
Yay! Got rid of him.
Did you get it?
That was...
Raven, release the partitions.
okay.
Enforcement system. Full state of motion. Lock on. Now. Acceleration.
You've got a job to do, 621. Don't fail me now.
Yeah,
You have to get clear.
I'm getting clear. Don't
It's
you
gonna
worry.
blow. Brace for impact.
Here we go. Let's look at the cool explosion. Glorious.
That was a close one.
It was, but that should hopefully get rid of the laser field and what have you.
Look.
Yeah.
It's weakening. The corals.
I updated my shades as well to give them a little more red, like they were back in the
It's another solid milestone in our work.
in the render I did for me pretending to be Johnny Cage.
Grant's not a cool guy, he looked at the explosion.
Cool guys can look at the explosions, okay? Alrighty then. So log 6, and we get ourselves the plasma thrower. I do not know how that is going to work, but let's be real. I'm probably still gonna stick to like the Zimmerman songbird shit. Actually, we'll go into the arena and see how that works with what's-mahoozies.
The enforcement system's silent at least. Tried to take 621 with it. Good thing it failed.
Well, that deals with the PCA then.
Besides, you guys wanted to see the cool explosion, right?
Archibus told
Hi
us
there,
the
I am
Rangers wanted to
E621.
exterminate
Do
So you're close.
do not be mistaken for the furry E621. That is completely different.
Yeah. Archibus wants Balaam out of the picture first.
Looks like Archibus is gonna win the race no matter what.
Did you remove stream alerts?
I
Oh,
think 621
yes.
is going to be the
That's
key
actually not stream alerts, sound
I
alerts.
should be the one to choose which jobs.
Give me a second.
Sounds risky.
There was.
Friends.
I should probably explain like what happened on Sunday, because a lot of people might not have been at to that stream. It was one of my lower streams to do, which is it's a little disappointing. But to be fair, I didn't do a lot of advertisement besides like the week of. And it was a very quiet, hey, yeah, I'm going to be on stream Sunday morning. And so very few people would have probably picked up on it. Hang on a second. I need to change profile to 2023 affiliate.
How can I fart in your stream without them?
Pick something else. Actually, you know what? Here's what I'm going to do. Only the fart redeem can only be done by subscribers. Get wrecked.
Registration number RB23. Call sign.
Actually, I
Raven.
wonder... Just make it so that all the sounds can only be played if you're a subscriber.
S rank virtual encounters
I am
are
a
now
subscriber.
available in the arena. You You will now face the best of the best. We wish you luck on the difficult road to mastery.
All right. So, clarification time. So, also, I should probably move over to the chat screen so then that way people get a little bit of it. That way I'm not, like, staring at the thingamadiggy. Let me do the thingamadiggy in the background. Here we are. All right, so, Sunday morning, I took part in it was supposed to be a September furry Fortnite tournament. There was a whole ton of people that were listed to go, like some big names such as Beta Whatsamahoozies, OK Donuts, BJ Bardic, and a whole ton of other names that I was not familiar with. Like, hang on a second, maybe I can get the... Oh, no, I can't get the list of peeps, actually, because they fucking... They edited the fucking tape, didn't they? Unless... Do I have an executable? No, I do not have the executable. No. Beta, Ada, Del Toro. Yes, thank you, Furry Cures. And Doryuz. Doryuz was in my team for the first round, which was really great. And so the way that the tournament was going to work is that you would be in teams of 3. And the teams, you would have different members in your team for each of the rounds. There was going to be 5 rounds in total. The idea is that there would be a varying level of experience across the team. So then that way it wasn't a case of, Doryuz and 2 of his best mates, who are probably really high in Fortnite skills, going into this tournament and just, absolutely decimating the competition and what have you. This was intended to sort of, like, the round robin nature of who was in what teams was to help, mix up the group. So then that way there wasn't going to be like an odds-on favorite, even if there was an individual that you were chasing after, such as Dorzu or any of the other Fortnite streamers and what have you. Any whoosies. So I'm getting ready for the first round. The tournament was supposed to start at 9 a.m. The idea, and there wasn't any like sort of indicator of like what time me or any of the attendees had to arrive prior to the to the actual event starting. So I think there was an intention of like, oh, everyone would just sort of read the Discord and be able to set the things up like real quick and what have you. That's not what happened in this regard. What ended up happening is, I'm distracted by your eyebrows. Actually, it's probably because my hair's in... Maybe I need to get a haircut at some point, so then that way I don't have to worry about like long hair like covering up the front of my face, because I don't have like, the iPhone like situated like right in front of my face like mocap artists. I have it like all the way in front of me. Any whoosies. You know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna name names. There was a different number of peeps who didn't have their shit set up for 9 a.m. One of them was Beta Ada Delota. Now, I don't know what his problem was that took an hour and 40, like it took over an hour in the time that us as teams were waiting for people, but he's not the singular problem. I can tell you that much. There were like, because I think on the dot, what actually starting, it was still only like 80 people in the queue, and we needed 99. We were at 80, and then I think for the longest time we were waiting for Beta, and I think they went as far as reinstalling Fortnite, doing driver updates or something, or rather. None of these sorts of checks and stuff was done prior to the event starting. So what ended up happening is that we all, and there was a thing set in the tournament of like, oh hey, if you DC from it because your internet connection is that poor, we're not doing a redo. Which, like, fair enough. Like, if you're at fault for your disconnection, then we're not gonna like ruin the fun for everyone. But it was a bit of a sour note that it was like, oh, the first round didn't go off for like an hour and 40 minutes, and all of us were just sort of waiting for shit to happen. And then when stuff finally did start, some people got disconnected because of Epic Games. The code fucked up too. Exactly. The code fucked up too. So I think it was like 3 or 5 teams got dropped out, and that was an error on Epic Games' side as opposed to their side. So we then scrapped that round, started all over again. We get in a little bit quicker than normal. We were all set up within like 5 or 10 minutes. But what ended up happening is the team that I was a part of, because we got a new code for like the tournament code or what have you, we couldn't get into the tournament I have a feeling that it might have been like some weird netcode issue because I was in Australia, and you know, when we changed the tournament code and all this kind of such in a very quick succession, trying to get into the new one, and everyone was getting in and what have you, there was probably like a little error that Epic Games was just like, look, you changed your code too quickly. We think you're doing some DDoS shit. And they wouldn't tell me straight. They wouldn't tell any of our teammates straight. So we basically get an Epic Games error of, oh, you can't use this code for this. You can't use this creator code for this game mode. So what ended up happening is in the first round, one team, the one I was in, didn't go into round one. And the host of this event said, look, I'm sorry that has happened. We're not going to redo the round. However, to give you a little bit of a chance, we could take in your previous your previous placement from the round that you got scrapped, or we can do a dice roll all based off of like, you know, this range. And we were like, all right, we'll take the dice roll. The Dorzu was very confident in our skills and really did wish we could just do another round, but we got our score. It was very favorable, quite frankly, I feel, because it was out of 33, we got 8, which I'm very thankful for. And I think some people got a little bit annoyed with this because, you know, we got like so many people dropping out in the first round. We did an entire redo, and then with us, once we couldn't get in, but that we couldn't see if the fault was on me, on any of the teammates, or if it was on Epic. So when round 2 was supposed to go off, we changed the code again. So we're all moving around teams. We get ready in like 10 minutes or something or rather, and we're able to go into a session, and it was really good. Our team only came like, I think 16th or 17th. So we did better than the scrap round, which was pretty cool. I was with completely different people. I was with Miles the Fox and someone else. I can't remember their name. And unfortunately, in the time it took us to do 2 rounds, it was oh Jesus, Incineroar. I'm explaining what happened with the Fortnite tournament. Like, for example, so we started at 9 o'clock. That was the intended time, 9 a.m. my time zone. Just to give context, they were starting in the afternoon, going into the evenings. They were intending to get shit done in like 3 hours or so. By the time it got to the afternoon, so at around 12 o'clock my time, which was like 7 p.m. for some of the Americans and later in the night for other Americans, they were just too tired. They had prior engagements and they needed to leave. This, however, was not too great of an idea because the number of people that had to leave, I think, was like a really big number. It was like 30 people had to leave, which means like it was 20% of the competition would not be attending rounds 3, 4, and 5, which means which could drastically change the outcome based, like, because some people might have done really well at the start, but now they get even poorer numbers. So the entire tournament gets put on pause or they stop the tournament that day, and they delay, and they've not yet released a date for when they'll do it again. They're taking in feedback, and they're very much hoping to do a really good job. They're thankful for everyone who came along to this. I'm very thankful for coming along to this, and I do hope when they do the Fortnite tournament again, and that, you know, I'm able to put my expression of interest down again and join in, because, as you know, I honestly had some fun into it. I know some people might have gotten a little bit salty with the rulings, how it was a little bit, you know, flim-flammy, like, oh, when it was this many people disconnecting, we did a redo. These groups didn't disconnect, but we didn't give them as a DNF like it says in the rules. Because it was something to do with Epic, we instead give them like a favorable score, because a lot of people would have gotten a different score, which would have done by merit, whereas this one was a dice roll, which feels very cheapy. It feels very cheap. I've given my opinions about, because they've already talked about like what are some of the stuff that I think his name is Jink, or hang on a second, Javi, what's his name? What is their name? Mr. Jick. They took in like the criticism, and one of the things they did is it was mentioned early on is like having a different sort of process for DCing and having more moderators, because I think there was like 100 there was 100 people, 33 teams, and there was like 6 moderators, which isn't a lot. In my opinion, like if I had to try and run such a thing, like best case scenario, you have 1 moderator for each team, which would be a little bit insane. Don't get me wrong. I don't know if anyone could ever corral, 16 moderators together to help manage 100 players all going into like Fortnite matches and what have you. But having it so that a moderator is dedicated to like 1 or 2 teams, I think would have been very helpful. And the second thing, and I push this in my feedback, is like, because at my work, because I'm in desktop support, IT support, there's any mention of, oh, we want to host this event, we have this kind of viewing thing or this kind of stream going off, we set a time for, oh, it's going off at like 2 p.m. Desktop support is in the area, is in doing the shit at 10 a.m. There's like a good 4 hours of prep time, which is a lot, but let's be fair, we're going on lunch, so probably more like an hour or 2 hours. And the whole point is we get everyone that is part of the presentation. We make sure their stuff is working. We have a test flight of basically, all right, here is the system we're using for inviting people into our meetings and such like that. And here's a test meeting where it's not invited to everyone, but it's got the same presenters, it's got the same setup, and the idea is that we test it here and we see what it looks like when 2 or 3 people join. So then that way we can get out of the way any microphone issues, any hosting, yada yada yada. So the second thing that was my like commentary of like, oh, what's something they can look into is putting in stone, like putting in an actual like event of, hey, if you are an attendee for this event, the event starts at 10, but we want you in the Discord at this time. Like let's say, because like, for example, I started my stream like 30 minutes before the actual event went off. I would say getting people at least 30 minutes ahead of time, but preferably an hour ahead of time. That way they can do a practice round with the technology we're doing and just cut it off really quickly. Because you can just do like, say, 100 people solo just to see how it works with the creator code and whatever kinds of systems. Oh no, someone is calling me. Who is that? Who the fuck gave me my number? It's like, oh, hello. Oh, your number was on our list of approved people to give you this promotional. It's like, no, go away. Any whoosies. Work wants my soul. It wasn't work. It was some fucking telemarketer. I wish I had the patience because some people do this, and I think it's very funny, where if they're getting hit by a telemarketer, you waste their time. It's like if they're a spam caller or they're a telemarketer, you just waste their time, because if they're busy talking to you, they're not selling it to someone who'll get caught up on it or something or other. I wish I had that, but the 2 times they've called me at work, or they have called me when I'm in the middle of streaming, which is like, no, I got more pressing things to do. I'm not, and you're using my real name. You're trying to like use my name. I'm not going to like, try and make a bit out of this. Clink. Fluff those people. Yeah. So anywho, where was I? Oh yeah, do prep time. Because here's the thing, in IT, in anything about content creation, or thank you for hitting me with the pipe. Anything to do with content creation or presentation, you don't plan for when things go right perfectly, because that's a very terrible plan. You set a plan for things going wrong. So you set time ahead of time for people to have to attend a Discord and to be part of, like, you know, the group of people to confirm Fortnite is working, confirm they can get into a session, and confirm that they can get into teams and yada yada. If someone doesn't have Fortnite, they have the time to download it. It's a little bit, if they're having any driver issues, they have the time. They have like a good 30 minutes to an hour before the event starts. If there's any problems with the creator code, that can be fixed in the time before the tournament. And then that way people get the jitters out from like, oh, I hope I'm typing in the code correctly, because rather than rushing with like 5-10 minutes on the clock to try and make sure 33 teams or 100 people are doing the right thing, you have an hour to get the stragglers. And if it's the worst case scenario of like 100 people having difficulty with this, you've got the time. You've got an hour. That's a lot more favorable. 60 minutes and 100 people is a lot more favorable than, you know, potentially, you know, 6 minutes and 100 people. But that didn't end up happening. So it looks like they have another another suggestion that was provided is actually changing the number of people within rounds, which I think would be interesting. More time gives players more flexibility for when they play. So rather than having like 5 rounds, it's 3. I think 3 rounds is all right and what have you. So, but yeah, I feel like whatever format they decide to go with, whether it's 3 rounds, 5 rounds, 100 people, 33 teams of 4, duos, whatever it is, it's all about the prep work and the organization behind the format. And so, and that's something that just has to come along with experience. Like, because I didn't have these thoughts when we went into before the Fortnite tournament. They were like, oh, do you have any questions? And I'm like, no, I just want to know, like, how is the gift sub thingy-majiggy working? They explained that to me because, you know, money was on the line, and I was like, yep, no, makes sense. And I didn't have a question of like, oh, what happens when someone disconnects in the middle of the game? Or, oh, what happens if Epic crashes? I didn't have any of those questions. Alrighty. Back to the game. Alrighty. So, hopefully we'll be able to... Alright. Do we want to try this again with our fun double Zimmerman, double Songbird? I want to try again with the double Zimmerman, double Songbird. I think it would be funny. You got... How many... So, yeah. Guile. Wait. Snail. This dude. With the double Zimmerman and the double Songbird. You got a minute and a half to vote on your phones. Code, Jason, you have a lot of channel points. Put them somewhere. I don't want to see small bets here. I want to see big bets. Huge bets. I want to see 1,000 points somewhere. Where are we at? Oh, hang on. Let me zoom out a bit. 40. Come on. There's a small number. Where's the big numbers? Code, where's the big numbers? Jason, big numbers. Hey, look at that. 120 points on the yes side. Ooh, we got 150, 160. Come on. Big numbers now. I only have 500 points. Can you give me more? What did you do? Oh, hang on a second. I think I might have a way to, refund you? Refund you? Code's one of my moderators. I honestly wish there was a way for me to, like, contribute money, or sorry, not money, to contribute channel points into this thing as the streamer, because let me be real with you. Like, I have infinite channel points. It would make sense for me to be able to throw monies in. 1.3Ks on, yeah, I'm going to do it. 410, that, nah, I'm not going to do it. Nice. We got some big numbers in the stream. So yeah, I really wish there was a way for me to be able to inflate the economy somehow. It would be cool if I could somehow inflate the economy. Would be absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, Twitch does not give me the opportunity to try and provide more channel points than necessary.
Arena
unless...
Number 6, rank A.
I wonder if there's a way to make it, like, what if I make a really cheap channel point redeem, it gets really expensive on the redeem, but it's in the redemption queue, and then it gets refunded. Does it get refunded with the previous value, or does it get refunded with the new value? Because if it gets refunded with the new value, then maybe I can make it a thing of like, oh, you get Like, you get refunded like 1,000,000 channel points or something crazy like that. Ow, fuck you.
AP at 50%. AP at 30%.
Yeah! Oh my god, I was so close to dying. I believe in you, Grant. Thank you, Jason. Jason, you should have put way more points in there. Like, being like, oh, I have 110,000 points with GrantZeebs. Puts in, let's see. Hang on a second. We can see what you contributed. You. Alrighty, so Incineroar and Kingwell. Studio mode, ding, predictions, prediction summary, interactions. Alrighty, Jason. Alright, fine. You put in like over 500, which is good for you. Code, you're able to put quite a bit in. Thank you for believing in me. I see Furry Cures did not want to put anything in on the monies, which is unfortunate, but it's okay. The good news is the double Zimmerman works. I'm gonna tell Avalon I'm in love with the double Zimmerman. Lol King Maxwell. Hi. Thank you for voting in the thingamadiggy. You're brand spanking new here, and I appreciate you throwing the points where you could. In case the original, oh yeah, I'm not interested in planes. I've fallen into the double Zimmerman and Songbird build. Alrighty. So we get more chips, we get the mech, we get the symbol. Let's update the... Actually, we're gonna do another one. We're gonna deal with Chartreuse, an independent mercenary who arrived on Rubicon around the time that the core response was rediscovered. Held to be a member of Branch, a hacktivist collective active in the Rubicon system, Chartreuse is said to have dealt a critical blow to the closure system during the plot to attack Station 31. Branch is made up of a rotating group of 4 people, and Chartreuse is believed to be the second oldest of the current roster. We're doing it again with the double Zimmerman. Oh, we got some confident people. 1,000 points saying, yeah. We need some people who don't believe in me, though. How's everyone doing? I'm doing all right. Jason, Code, Incineroar, how are you guys doing? Incineroar doesn't say much. Incineroar just steals my shirt and then just, like, wraps it around themselves all comfy life. Meanwhile, I have to leave my tits out for the boys. Oh, we got some big numbers in. We got some big numbers in the fight. Look at that. 1.5, 1.2. Amazing. Do, 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 do. Where's the seatbelt? Code is making dinner. Not to worry. Code, you'll be surprised or probably not on whether or not you get the points, but who knows. Let's see. 10 seconds left. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Also, my shirt is bigger. You can use it as a double blanket.
I'm good. I'm fine. I'm fine with my shirt. Thank you very much. All right, we're dealing with this guy. It looks like he's got some explosive shit on him, so...
Call sign, Chartreuse.
Chartreuse. Chartreuse.
Commencing evaluation.
Sacre bleu. Oh, he's in the boat! I remember Avalon using a mech in this boat kind of tank before. Alrighty, hang on. Where is he? There he is. Alrighty, here we go. Come on, come on. Oh. Oh.
at 30%.
Oh, damn it, he got me! Oh, he got me! Ah! The boat got me. Alrighty. You lost your points. You got plenty of points, Code. You're fine. You're fine. You got plenty of points. Woo, you won your points. Nice work, Zapper. Zapper just swooping in out of nowhere once I do my thing. Amazing work, Zapper. Alrighty, OS tuning. TAC controls. Alright, so that costs 7. And direct... Alright, I'm gonna do the direct modifier. So now I have no OST chips. I can't purchase anything more, so we're going into the sorties. Alright, so we have intercept the Red Guns, eliminate Michigan, the Red Guns' top commanding officer, and destroy the Red Guns' MT forces, or eliminate Hawks and Pater. Ooh. The Red Guns pay me more. But the Vespers have been very much dicks to me. Like, V5 and V8, they've been quite dickish to me, so I think I'm gonna ambush the Vespers.
This is the request from Middle Flatwell, the Liberation Front commander.
Nice.
I'll get straight to the point. Arquebus leads the corporate forces, emboldened by assimilated PCA technology.
Uh-huh.
But they're still human, tired from the endless conflict between powers. Open to an attack on their key forces. We want you to eliminate 2 of the Vespers' numbered officers. V5 Hawkins, their officer overseeing the transport corps. V8 Pater, his adjutant. We'll use false information to lure them out from their Depth 2 survey, then ambush them.
Alright.
I will assist you on this mission. It'll be a good opportunity to catch up with a veteran.
Interesting.
I look forward to your favorable response, Raven.
Alright. So who's submitting this mission?
Got a job for you, 621.
This is done by Walter.
This
Okay.
one's from the Arquebus group.
Raven, this request comes from our affiliate, Schneider. First, I'll brief you on the state of conflict between Arquebus and Balaam at Watchpoint Alpha. The Watchpoint's defenses inflicted heavy losses on Balaam's initial wave, with many deserting. More recently, they've engaged with our forces only to continue their downward spiral.
Also, hi, Zapper.
The Red Guns commander...
Oh, I need to turn off the September notification, because that is no longer applicable, I'm sorry to say. That is no longer a thing. September tips, they're no longer enabled.
To hammer the final nail into Balaam's coffin. Should you decline, we have V4 lined up to take over. This concludes the briefing. Awaiting your favorable reply.
Both of them want a favorable reply, but I am not on the side of the corporations. I am going to be helping the Liberation Front.
Flatwell is the de facto leader of the Rubicon Liberation Front. If he's accompanying you in person, he must be planning to take your measure.
Yep. Let's hope the double Zimmerman helps me out in this fight, because it was an interesting one to go with.
Main system activating combat mode.
Hey, he's right there.
This will be a joint operation with Middle Flatwell, the Liberation Front commander.
They're coming, Raven. Whenever the moment is right.
Okay.
What could this emergency call from V2 be about, sir?
That's just Snail being Snail, my boy. He loves to send his minions running.
Sir, there'll be trouble if he hears that kind of talk.
Targets confirmed. The tetrapod is piloted by V5 Hawkins. V8 Pater has the reverse joint AC.
Those were our 2 numbered Vespers. Ready when you are, Raven.
Alright, let's go.
Look, sir. That's not V2. No, looks like we've got Wretch instead. Pater, open fire.
Too late now. We'll try brute force. Raven! Is this how we meet in person? See, the other one's Uncle Flatwell. The Liberation Front's main cheese. Look alive, Peter. Yes, sir. This'll be fun, sir. Sharp. Wonder Rusty spoke so highly of you.
AP at 30%.
Now, let's finish this, Peter. Yes, sir.
They won't go down easily, Raven. Stay focused.
Oh, shit.
I expected more.
Alright, so they want me going for Hawkins, it seems, not the tetrapod. Because, yeah, I was going against the tetrapod first, and then they swapped me over to the reverse joint fella. So...
Commence mission. This will be a joint operation with Middle Flatwell, the Liberation Front commander.
They're coming, Raven.
yeah,
Whenever the moment is right.
there they are.
What could this emergency call from V2 be about, sir?
That's just Snail being Snail, my boy. Look, sir. That's
Oh.
not V2. No, looks like we've got Wretch instead. Pater, open fire.
The enemy has spotted us.
This was supposed to be an ambush, you fool. Too late now. We'll try brute force. Raven! Is this how we meet in person? See, the other one's Uncle Flatwell. The Liberation Front's main cheese. Look alive, Peter. Yes, sir. This'll be fun, sir. Sharp. Wonder Rusty spoke so highly of you.
1 repair kit remaining.
Want to join Vespers?
V5 Hawkins down.
No! V5, come in! V5... Peter... It doesn't sound too bad. I see old-fashioned augmentation hasn't let you down. Well, you always were a hard worker.
Oop, there we go. Come on.
Should have known this wouldn't be easy.
Yeah!
Just made V5!
Awkward.
V8 Pater down. Both Vespers have been eliminated.
Nice.
Mission accomplished.
Only took me like 2
It was a
tries.
privilege, Raven. We're war buddies now. Maybe I'll find a comrade in you yet.
Cool. Alright, looks like Code and Jason are on dinner. I have no moderators in my chat, it seems. This is gonna be interesting. No moderators in my chat. What nonsense will the normal peeps say? Also, I'm curious what these guys are gonna say. Coke time.
About the request to attack the Red Guns. Sounds like V4 Rusty took care of it.
Uh-huh.
Michigan's dead. Heard he went down fighting. Balam's withdrawn from Rubicon. The politicians will be fighting their war now. Where there's coral, there's blood.
Right.
That's how it's always been, 621.
This better be like a fucking amazing source of like fuel and shit.
Raven.
Hi, waifu.
Doomed to spark conflict wherever we go?
I imagine so, considering this video game is all about, like, quote-unquote conflict. We've not exactly given them the opportunity to play this any different, so I'm gonna say, yeah. A plasma mine launcher. What the fuck does that look like? Oh, it's like a whip. Interesting. Well, I'm gonna stick to my Zimmerman. Alright, next sortie is the Unknown Territory Survey at Watchpoint Alpha. Head down into the unknown territory to find the coral convergence and eliminate your pursuer. Alright.
621. We're picking up where we left off. Now that you've dealt with the laser barrier, we can explore deeper underground.
Okay.
We've received a request from Archibus to continue the advanced survey. There was something else, too.
Orders for Raven, Advanced Survey Squad. We've received some concerning information that an AC has been quietly following your trail.
Oh. Okay.
Archibus cannot tolerate unauthorized surveys that will put its coral interests at risk. If you spot this rogue agent, eliminate them.
Interesting.
There's blood. Remember that, 621.
So he's been following us a lot of the time. He probably was there for when we betrayed, for when we did the sneak attack on Arbicus and what have you, so...
Who could be following you?
Now that is what we call a skill issue.
You might be right. I imagine it's someone from the art. I imagine it would be one of the Vespers, perhaps, just giving me a little bit of paranoia, and then hitting me like when I least expect it.
Main system activating combat mode.
All right, moving on.
Mission. Make your way down to the next depth.
Oh wait, what am I thinking? I'm meant to be just follow them. Here we go.
Something's jamming the radar. It must be interference from the active coral. Rely on your eyes and ears.
Alright.
Is that...
Coral response from inside the creature. Watch out!
Looks like these guys got a taste of the coral too.
Alrighty. Shouldn't be too hard to take care of these guys. Oh boy. Being down there. Ooh, another piece of mecha.
Looks like they're out of commission now.
Raven, I'm reading something behind us, and it's getting closer.
Oh, Code has gone off to lunch. Cures is still with us. so far, nothing. What do you think are the chances that we're gonna deal with a giant fucking Rubicon worm, like a bio worm, not a mechanical one? Oh, hello. Figured it was you.
Deal with a mercenary who went in alone, they said. Figures. Seems both of us are too dangerous to keep around.
I knew it was someone from the Vespers.
The higher-ups wouldn't miss an opportunity to kill two birds with one stone.
Alrighty, Rusty.
Hate to say it, but Rubicon still needs me. So, buddy, who needs you?
Me, for starters.
Steel haze incoming.
I don't want to dance to their tune, but this time, I don't have any other choice. I'm coming, buddy. I set you both up. 621, make it through this alive. That's your job now. You never change. You're not afraid to die or to kill.
No.
Light and ammunition. 2 repair kits remaining.
Oh, that was a good hit, sir.
AP at 50%.
This has been a real eye-opener. You're strong, a threat.
AP at 30%.
So long, buddy.
He got me with the stun. I was pressing up to do a repair kit, and it wasn't letting me while my AC was overloaded and such. So I need to be a little more careful with throwing my shotgun ammo, because I did hear the whole.
AC steel haze incoming.
I don't want to dance to their tune, but this time, I don't have any other choice. I'm coming, buddy. I set you both up.
Come on.
Make it through this alive. That's your job now. This has been a real eye-opener. You're strong.
Oh, you are.
You never change. You're not afraid to die or to kill.
2 repair kits remaining.
You're sharp. That's not the only thing that makes you dangerous. I fought alongside you several times, but I never could figure you out. Tell me, buddy, what drives you?
Survival, for starters.
I know you can do better than that.
Gotcha. You gonna stop?
Never failed to impress. But this isn't over yet. Buddy. There's no graver threat than power without purpose.
Oh, don't. No, we're not. Don't do this to me.
We've lost all signs of steel haze.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. You ran.
He's escaped.
That's fine. Look, he.
Good job, 621. No need to pursue him. We have to keep pressing on.
I'm fine with that. Alright? We're alive. He's most likely alive. He'd probably be on the run. I won't... Don't get me wrong, but...
Major coral response coming from the bottom of the pit.
It's not the craziest...
Keep moving, Raven.
It's not the craziest thing. Oh, Jesus.
It's close.
Is there an end to it? Looks like this is the end. Alrighty then.
A city from before the fires of Ibis.
It's pretty big. Oh shit! There's a floor as well.
Of course. No wonder we couldn't find it.
Fuck. I didn't realize there was a city on the ground.
Head back to base and rest up.
Rubicon is uninhabitable though, so like... What's the... I wonder what the possibilities are when we, Hey, we got some reverse joints. Alright, let's have a look at them.
Raven.
Yeah.
I see them so clearly.
Who?
The voices of the coral. My family.
Huh?
Brothers and sisters consumed by the fires of Ibis. Only a few survived. But after all this time, they finally formed a new flock.
Okay.
Looks like Walter has sent you a message. Let's take a look, Raven.
Alright, let's have a read.
Incoming comms.
You think he understands what we did 2 missions ago?
Let me tell you a story before you go. There once was a scientist. He abandoned his family to delve into the secrets of coral.
Okay.
His work yielded a carnival of horrors, augmentation surgery included. But there was another scientist. He took his colleagues' sins upon himself and set it all ablaze. Died with no regrets. There's a lesson in this story. Once something's alive, it doesn't die easy. 621. Story time's over. It's time for work.
The fuck were you what was all that about? Alright, let's have a look. So, we got a new head. Ooh, this is a funky looking one. Not that much better in the scanning or in the reload or in the duration, but it's a lot better on the defense. It's a nice and better system recovery. It's a nice even. Interesting color scheme though. Alright, what about... Alright, here's a reverse joint. We'd be overburdened, however, if we did that. Alright. And then that's using the gills. Using this lock. So that's for the Arbiquist grip, more for long-ranged. Songbirds are from Melanite. They were from something else. Alright, paint. Let's... Let's change the sub-color. How does that?
Zeebs is a cutie.
I will deny such statements, thank you very much. So the optional... Yep, alright. So optional will be that. Device will be that. All right. So far, so good. Save edits. AC data. Look at the fucking weirdies we've been getting. Went from Buzz Lightyear to... Alright. Reach the Coral Convergence, and it will be a chapter conclusion when we get to it. We haven't seen one of those in a while. Yeah, I saw the ruins. Buzz Lightyear, look at us. That one lasted us for quite a bit, though. Don't get like, don't knock it. It lasted. This color scheme, I don't know how I feel about it. I feel like I'd go back to the Buzz Lightyear or try a different color scheme.
Over to their own AC squad. 621. We're done with the corporations.
Nice.
Wipe out the Arquebus AC squad and get to the Coral first.
Gun 3. V6.
I'll tell you about the last of my friend's requests.
Weird friend. Alrighty. Actually, you know what? Hang on a second. AC, paint. The entire frame. We can go for this if we want. This honestly looks good. And then... Honestly, this does look like a... Look at this Buzz Lightyear dude. That looks incredible, honestly. Alright, for the lefty, let's go... Dun, 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 dun. God. Alright, here's what we're gonna do. The subs are gonna change to... what's that orange? Where's that orange that's like, oh, you can't... Like, it's... There we go. And then... Yep. And then... Dink donk. Yep, same colors. Awesome. Look at this. All right, color set, user, paste. There we go. All right, let's swap back over to... We could just go with an all black, quite frankly. Yeah, let's just stick to save and just AC data. Alright, here we go. Oh, this is so great.
621. From here on out, Never mind. Just trust your instincts.
Look at this Buzz Lightyear looking dude. Get in the Eva. Honestly, that was kind of the intention I had with these colors at first, was to get Eva-like colors.
This
Oh. Interesting.
Main system activating combat mode.
Very evil-like.
Commence mission.
Let's go, Raven.
V2 Snail, come in. Requesting backup. We have insufficient force to ensure success.
These Institute relics are such pests.
That's the Arquebus AC squad.
Raven, the independent mercenary. Decided to ignore Arquebus's orders, did you?
V2 Snail, come in. The Raven is landed. Requesting backup.
AP at 50%.
Just leave them to their own devices, quite frankly. There you are.
AP at 30%.
This is too risky. Commander, V2 Snail, please come in. This is Materlink, requesting backup.
2 repair kits remaining. 1 repair kit remaining.
Balaam was a sinking ship, but Arquebus's star is on the rise. And me, I'll be well rewarded when I bring them your head on a silver platter. Yes, I smell opportunity.
AP at 50%. AP at 30%.
I probably should have left them to the robots, quite frankly. See how they worked with that. Yep, we're gonna leave them. We're gonna leave them to the robots next.
Withdrawing request for backup.
Cause yeah, rather than.
For the disturbance, V2.
Alrighty. We'll wait for them to deal with like the Institute weaponry and such like that, because obviously
Main system activating combat mode.
our setup isn't giving us an advantage in engaging them while they're busy engaging anyone else.
V2 Snail, come in. Requesting backup. We have insufficient force to ensure success.
These Institute relics are such pests.
Alright.
That's the Arquebus AC squad. Isn't that one with the red guns?
Looks like the drones are keeping them busy.
The drones are keeping them busy, but it's gonna take a bit of time. Question is where is everyone else? Yeah, the city is literally just a city. Let's see. So far, not so good on the on Maverick and Gun. What do you reckon? Do you think the Institute's machines are gonna wreck these guys before I have to come down? Because they look to be doing a fairly good job in getting rid of like bits of their health, just scratching away at it. I'm not having to pay a fucking thing. Yeah, the AI is. Oh, there we are. Let's see. Alright, that's one of them down, but to be fair, the only reason he's down is because he was overzealous. Let's see. Maverick might be the one to get rid of first, considering look how Look how low he is. Whereas what's his name? Wu Huahai? Wu.
What if we held
well.
hands as a treat?
Yeah, I'll think about it. Let's see. Looks like they're starting to damage the other peeps. But considering the amount of health Mater Link is having to utilize in order to get past them, I don't know. He's not looking so hot. With the amount of stun that's going off, I'm kind of surprised. Like, hang on a second. Let me see if I can somehow, like, hide the foreground element so you can see. Like, see that? Oh, did not mean to shoot. See that in the top? Alright, looks like they got rid of... Looks like there's only one guy left, but the style of gun that they're going for doesn't really help out. Alright, see. Turn back on the foreground elements. Head back into the game. I reckon... Would have been impressive, but... You know. Color me curious, is there another... No, it doesn't look it. Looks like that's their only problematic one. Alrighty. We could probably take some pot shots.
The independent mercenary. V2 Snail, come in. The Raven has landed. Requesting backup.
I was just getting bored of cleaning up trash.
Please, Snail, come in.
Alright, first one's out of the way.
The Vespers left her for dead. That wasn't pretty.
The credit shall be all mine. A fabulous opportunity. Balaam was a sinking ship. The Archivist's stars on the rise. And me, I'll be well rewarded when I bring them your head on a silver platter. Did I?
Yeah.
The signs.
You probably did.
Tried to bet against Balaam, but his luck had run out already. The Archivist AC squad has been eliminated.
Nice.
That should buy us more time. Move out.
I understand that was like a lot slower than most other missions, but come on. If you got NPCs facing NPCs before you're fighting them, I mean, it's worthwhile trying. Also, is this meant to be just Brooklyn Bridge or some shit? Interesting. Color me curious. Looks like action's happening.
An autonomous grinder wheel.
AP at 50%.
That machine was running on stable energy for half a century. Perhaps it should be no surprise that humanity so desires coral.
Archivist must be tracking us by now. Hurry, 621.
Oh.
AP at 30%. 2 repair kits remaining.
Alright, well I got something called Moonlight, so hopefully that will be something good. Are you the action? I hope I'm the action.
Off the chart. You're close.
Brothers and sisters' voices are stronger than ever now. It's like they're calling to us.
One repair kit remaining.
Don't show me that cake on stream.
AP at 50%.
I'm getting these guys for the combat log.
Right-hand ammunition at 50%. AP at 50%. AP at 30%. Left shoulder ammunition at 50%.
There we go. Alrighty. Oh. Alright. Acquired the combat logs for those fellas there. I am nearly dead. Let's not talk about that. I want to see the action. Alright, here comes action. That is not the action I intended to give you, but, you know, shit happens, because I wasted so much health on, like, the weird grinder thingies on the ground. There's probably a better weapon system to use against them than, you know, the other kind. Yeah, let's give it a shot. I guess my next question is do I still have to...
The vascular plant. It's still here.
He must mean that gigantic structure in the distance.
Mm-hmm. Most likely.
Enemy detected. An autonomous grinder wheel. That machine was running on stable energy for half a century. Perhaps it should be no surprise that humanity so desires coral.
Looks like I need to... Alrighty. Grab the thingamadiggy. And get out of there.
AP at 50%.
Readings are off the chart. You're close.
My brothers and sisters' voices are stronger than ever now. It's like they're calling to us.
2 repair kits remaining.
The response is getting stronger. We're nearly there, 621.
Moving on. Moving on up. Moving on. Oh, would you look at that? We could resupply right here. That would have been nice a little bit sooner.
Repair kit remaining.
This lake. It's all...
Here we are, 621.
What is it all?
Investigate before they arrive.
Okay. We're just investigating a lake. Is this like where... Is this like just like... coral?
It's building up faster than I'd expected.
Or... Oh, it's talking about that shit being coral, most likely.
Raven, I knew Walter was...
Hello?
Wait, something's coming.
Unidentified machine overhead. A response. It's a sea weapon.
Oh. Huh. Alright, good thing I am running the double Zimmerman, which is used for fights. Oh.
Get ready, 621.
The fuck is that?
One more job for you.
Is it survive? Oh my god! The fuck is... Oh, there she is.
Listen up, 621. The Ibis series are no ordinary weapons. They're designed to prevent coral disasters. A security measure to keep Rubicon safe. But now their original masters are long gone. Destroyed.
You know a lot about this shit.
It's taking damage, Raven. You won't get many chances to move the direction, but I know you can find a way.
Keep it up, 621. Can't take much more of this.
I can't. How do you...
Remaining. AP at 30%.
Heal? Oh shit, I had no more heals. I used all 3 of them. Fuck. Oh. And they were really close. We're sticking to this build. Considering how powerful this build is, we're sticking to it. Hopefully, it's not going to have to be a long run all the way back to here. I wonder if anyone is alive for this fucking C unit mecha bullshit. Oh my gosh, no one's voting. Oh boy. Oh, am I one of those kinds of streamers where I'm just washed up already? I'm washed up, chat. Oh, wait, no, someone has voted for me. Thank you for the 10. Let's see. It's a no. They don't have the trust in me. How dare you? How dare thee you? How dare thee there thee there thee there thee? How dare thee there thee there thee there thee there thee? How dare? How dare thee there thee there thee there thee? Alrighty then. It would seem that there is not that much confidence in me. Prepare to be downtrodden. Oh, lost sight of her.
I think it's controlled by Coral too.
Listen up, 621. The Ibis series are no ordinary weapons. They're designed to prevent coral disasters.
Oh, Jesus.
A security measure to keep Rubicon safe. But now their original masters are long gone. Destroy it before it destroys you.
2 repair kits remaining.
Oh.
AP at 50%. AP at 30%.
Raven, we're in danger.
Focus, 621. You have to focus.
Oop.
One
Jesus Christ, that is a painful... Ugh. Alright, looks like whoever was right. They were what? Right, I wasn't gonna do it. How the fuck did I do it last time? I got so much more damage on them than like, I got so much more damage on them on the first time, whereas the second time I barely touched them. Oop. There we go.
Listen up, 61. The Ibis series are no ordinary weapons. They're designed to prevent coral disasters. A security measure to keep Rubicon safe. But now their original masters are long gone. Destroy it before it destroys. 621! Damn it.
Well, at least it takes a lot of hit. At least it takes a lot of damage. I'm just, you know, the Zimmerman is not doing a very good job of, like, hitting them while they're close. I'm pretty sure I got other kinds of shotguns I can use, don't I? Let's see how the laser shotgun, plays out in this regard and see how we do.
It's controlled by Coral too.
Listen up, 61. The Ibis series are no ordinary weapons.
Oh, Jesus!
They're designed to prevent coral disasters. A security measure to keep Rubicon safe. And now their original masters are long gone. Destroy it before it destroys you.
2 repair kits remaining.
Oh.
AP at 50%. AP at 30%.
Raven, we're in danger.
Focus, 621. You have to focus.
Oop. Oh!
No repair kits remaining.
It's taking damage, Raven.
Don't make me send you to Jesus myself.
But I know you can find a way.
AP at 30%.
Oh boy. I do not have any more hit repair kits. Nah.
Damn it. Not like this.
Got like 50% of their health. Thank you for the Fs. Fs. Who the F? Alrighty then. Back over to Zimmerman. Alrighty. Better close and medium range, that would probably be useful. Alrighty. Let's try with this one. Oh! What the fuck? Oh, there she is!
Oop. The Ibis series are no ordinary weapons. They're designed to prevent coral disasters. A security measure to keep Rubicon safe. And now their original masters are long gone. Destroy it before it destroys you.
AP at 30%.
Raven, we're in danger. It's taking damage, Raven. Look at this.
Oh!
But I know you can find a way.
No repair kits remaining.
That's not good!
AP at 50%.
Oh!
AP at 30%.
621! Damn it. Not like this.
I hate this. There are just some moments where I'm just sort of like, yeah, I'm doing good, and then there's other moments where I'm just like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Oh, gotcha! I kicked her. Oh.
Listen up, 61. The Ibis series are no ordinary weapons. They're designed
Not
to prevent
get. Oh, Jesus!
a security measure to keep
Fuck.
unsafe. And now their original masters are long gone. Destroy it before it destroys you. 621! Ah, damn it. Not like this.
You're gonna hear this a lot of times. You're gonna hear that a lot of times. Of 621, not like this. T.
Listen up, 621. The Ibis series are no ordinary weapons. They're designed to prevent coral disasters. A security measure to keep Rubicon safe. But now their original masters are 621!
That was even faster than last time. E621, yeah. Ooh, this curls my toes. Oh, Jesus. I can barely keep track of her is the problem.
Listen up, 621. The Ibis series are no ordinary weapons. They're designed to prevent coral disasters. A security measure to keep Rubicon safe. And now their original masters are long gone. Destroy it before it destroys you.
AP at 30%.
621! Ah, damn it. Not like this.
Barely keeping up. Let's see. Can I do reverse joint? I am overburdened if I do reverse joint. Alrighty. Can I go for a smaller engine if I can? There will be an EN shortfall. God damn you.
What if we held hands as a treat?
No, not now. Very curious. Okay, I need to lower it somehow. So the load limit is... Alright, so I need to get rid of 2,000. Where am I? Because I can't get rid of these two. Can the head get reduced? Alright, so we got use. Alright. Alright, let's see how we do. Because, like, hopefully with the reverse joint, we get a lot more jumping and a lot more... Oop. Where the hell are you? There you are.
Listen up, 621. The Ibis series are no ordinary weapons. They're designed to prevent coral disasters. A security measure to keep Rubicon safe. And now their original masters are long gone. Destroy it before it destroys you.
AP at 50%. AP at 30%.
Raven, we're in danger. It's taking damage, Raven. We won't get many chances to land a direct hit, but I know you can find a way.
No repair kits remaining. AP at 50%.
Oh, shit, he's...
30%.
I can't get closer. I got like 50% of their health out of the way before they killed me this time, so that was nice. Thank you for the Fs.
by Coral 2.
Oop.
Listen up, 621. The Ibis series are no ordinary weapons. They're designed to prevent coral disasters. A security measure to keep Rubicon safe. And now their original masters are long gone. Destroy it before it destroys you.
AP at 30%.
Raven, we're in danger.
Focus, 621. You have to focus.
God damn it.
AP at 50%.
It's taking damage, Raven. We won't get many chances to leave a direct hit, but I know you can find a way.
AP at 30%.
Fuck, oh, there you are.
621.
Nah. Not when I was in the red that soon and with no repair kits. Oh boy. No iframes. No iframes in this game, which is, I think...
This is the sea weapons we've encountered so far. It's not just powered by Coral. It's controlled by Coral too.
Listen up, 621. The Ibis series are no ordinary weapons. They're designed to prevent coral disasters. A security measure to keep Rubicon safe. And now their original masters are long gone. Destroy it before it destroys you.
It's taking damage, Raven. We won't get many chances to leave a direct hit, but I know you can find a way.
2 repair kits remaining.
There we go.
Can't take much more of this.
1 repair kit remaining.
Did I even... Oh, Jesus.
AP at 30%.
Raven, we're in danger.
Focus, 621. You have to focus.
Oh.
AP at 50%.
Oh.
621.
Hi, Snippy Kit! Oh, that's not a good time for me to get raided. I got killed. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the stream. My name is Grant. I'm a variety Himbo streamer. Today is Monday. I didn't have to work today, which is great. It's Armored Core Day. Monday is when I try and get through Armored Core. How was Damon Ex Machina? Oh, Jesus. Where the hell is Sword? There she is. Where the hell? There you are.
Listen up, 621. The Ibis series are no ordinary weapons. They're designed to prevent coral disasters. A security measure to keep Rubicon safe.
Damn it, I'm out of...
Your original masters are long gone. Destroy it before it destroys you.
AP at 50%.
Alright, there we go. Thank you for the follows! Oh, Jesus Christ. Took a...
1 repair kit.
Keep it up, 621. Can't take much more of this.
Say that again.
AP at 30%.
621. Damn it.
Ugh.
Not like this.
You was taking a break from Armored Core, to be honest. Fair enough. I have a little bit of experience with, like, some of the Dark Souls games and, like, Jedi Survivor and such. I've not played any of the other Armored Cores. This is my first one. And already I'm like, alright, I'm following under the meme of, like, you know, you're just playing with, Songbird and what have you. Which is, like, fair enough.
The Ibis series are no ordinary weapons. They're designed to prevent coral disasters. A security measure to keep Rubicon safe.
Oop.
Destroy it before it destroys you.
It's taking damage, Raven. We won't get many chances to learn the direction.
There we go.
Keep it up, 621.
Oh, no! Repair! Oh! Yeah.
Not like
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. That was a lot closer than most other times as well with this thing. I've also swapped from like the normal joint to a reverse joint to try and get more dodging in. First problem.
It gets controlled by Coral too.
Oh, where the fuck? There you are.
Listen up, 621. The Ibis series are no ordinary weapons. They're designed to prevent coral disasters. A security measure to keep Rubicon safe. But now their original masters are long gone. Destroy it before it destroys you.
AP at 50%. AP at
621!
I got desperate.
Not like this.
I got really desperate because I was missing a lot of my shotgun shots. Have you had like a lot of experience with what's-a-mahoozies with the you're an AC veteran, I guess. You love of AC6, but you need to take a bit of a break before you try and beat your Wait. What do you mean speed run? There's speed runs to this shit? Fuck.
Listen up, 621.
I'm gonna take the wild guess that like speed running builds are not like you know, doing well kind of builds.
Security measure to keep Rubicon safe. And now their original masters are long gone. Destroy it before it just 621.
Nah. Are there any non-machine gameplay things in this game, or is it just giant mech robots? Yes, there is nothing but giant mech robots, and you live and breathe that. You pilot a robot, you will design, you will paint. There is nothing but the robot.
I think it's controlled by Coral too.
Listen up, 621. The Ibis series are no ordinary weapons.
Where the fuck are... There you are.
Designed to prevent coral disasters. A security measure to keep Rubicon safe. And now their original masters are long gone. Destroy it before it destroys 621.
And I forgot to repair.
Damn it.
Did you lock? So you play as E621. Yes, I'm playing as E621. Haha, the funny furry numbers. I made that joke a while ago when I first started streaming, back when I had hope in my eyes and thinking that, oh, this can't be that hard after I've went through all the different From Software games. It is that hard. It is annoying that it has to be that hard, but this is where we are. And of course you have to be so fucking far away, don't you?
Listen up, 621. The Ibis series are no ordinary weapons. They're designed to prevent coral disasters. A security measure to keep Rubicon safe. And now their original masters are long gone. Destroy it before it destroys you.
Oh.
It's taking damage, Raven.
Yep, but I can't see it. Oh, there you are.
I know you can find a way.
2 repair kits remaining.
Oop.
AP at 50%.
Keep it up, 621. Can't take much more of this.
1 repair kit remaining.
Oh.
No repair kits remaining.
Yes, let me just activate the fucking death like my like weird ass EMP in front of a death laser. Because that's gonna work.
Raven?
And this is me dead again. Repairs are estices. What are expansions and scans? Scans are just scans, and then expansions are just so then that way you do like small percentile increases. But it's Metal Gear Solid. 246 is your best time. Your build is about crapping out the most damage in the shortest amount of time.
It's not just powered by Coral. I think it's controlled by Coral too.
Oh, Jesus. Fuck, where the hell are you? Oh, Jesus.
masters are long gone. Destroy it before it destroys you.
AP.
What?
50%.
I don't know if I'm locked or not is some of like the worst problem because of how fast this thing moves.
AP at 30%.
Raven, we're in danger.
Nope, nowhere even close. Your build is about crapping out most damage in the shortest window, but is made out of card stock. Ah, so it's a glass cannon. You said MSG. Monosodium glutamate, not MGS, Metal Gear Solid. Oh. Fuck's sake. This game is anti-grant. It requires lock. Here's the problem, is like, sometimes I don't know whether I'm locked in or not, because it's like... Oh, Jesus. Oh, Jesus.
The Ibis series are no ordinary weapons. They're designed to prevent coral disasters. A security measure safe. But now their original masters are long gone. Destroy it before it destroys you.
It's taking damage, Raven. We won't get many chances to land a direct hit.
Oh, Jesus. Where the fuck are you? There you are. Oh, are you on controller? Yes, I am. Trying to do this on keyboard and mouse is like painful to like my fingies. Cause it's, yeah. So I'm on controller. So like the bumpers are the shoulders. But one of the things I do notice I do sometimes is when I'm using the shoulders, especially if I'm moving around and such. Oop, I'll accidentally, oop, where is she?
I think it's controlled by Coral too.
I don't see her. Where the? There she is.
The Ibis series are no ordinary weapons.
Oh, fuck.
They're designed to prevent coral disasters. A security measure to keep 621. Ah, damn it.
Armor Core was another from. Yes, yes. Okay, I'm probably getting a little bit mad. Hang on a second. Let me just like calm down and not be like going in from like one fight to another with this one, just so then that way get all this jitters out. Fucking chugga 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 chugga. I'm not mad at you. Chugga chugga. I'm mad at the game. I think this is a problem that I have with From Software games, aims that I've like, no matter how many times I play the From Software game or what have you, I never feel like I am like having a time, like nothing about From Software games tells me I'm having an easier time because I've played the previous game. It's still a learning curve every time. And I feel like the only time that's not the case, like, because I feel like that's like maybe 80% of peeps going into From Software games is, oh, I've not played a From Software game. Let me see how I do. You get through a lot of hassle, you grind, you finally break through it. A sequel comes out. Oh, I've played the previous game. Let me go through it. It's a grind yet again. You are back to zero. It is a painful thing. Are there like elemental weaknesses, damage types, etc.? There are 3 damage types. 4 damage types. Explosive. There's there's the munitions, like the bullets. That's not physical. That's just that munition. Let's just call it munition. You've got plasma and laser, which is energy. And technically Rubicon. You then have explosive, so things like grenade launchers, missiles. They'll do that kind of stuff. And then you've got melee. Melee can fall under like, you know, energy, physical, or explosive. But technically speaking, like the way this game decides to do its OS tuning, it puts melee under its own thingamadiggy. So munition, energy, explosive. Yes, you got that right. So energy, kinetic. That's it. Kinetic is like for the bullets. So right now I'm using dual shotgun, which are both kinetics. Oop, where the fuck?
I think it's controlled.
How do you do that to me? Honestly.
Listen up, 621.
I'm sorry, did she just... Oh, there she is.
No ordinary weapons.
disasters. A security measure to keep Rubicon safe. And now their original masters are long gone. Destroy it before it destroys you.
I think I... Using the Zimzams. Yes, I'm using the Zimmers. I understand it's a bit of a meme that it's like, oh, you're... Like, because, like, here's the thing. This game is all about building your own mech and such like that. Like, it is, you know, the moment to moment is just is like Dark Souls and all those other games, which is the way I've described. This isn't a Dark Souls game. You can pause it. No. We're not getting. That's not what makes a Dark Souls game. Okay. There's a lot of things that make a Dark Souls game. The pause is not one of them. I very much do not like that Dark Souls and Elden Ring decide to be like, oh, there is no pause, because you know what? You know who does that? You know who thinks, oh, you need to get in the menu without a progression of time? Teenagers and children. That's who they think there's playing this. Not adults who pick up a phone call and shit like that and then just go pause and it's like, oh, I need to do something really important. That is the point of the pause, is it's meant to be a very quick and timely pause in the most disastrous of situations. We hate it when we don't have pause in a game, okay? When you're an adult and you've got a life and what have you. Anywho's, nah, I'm getting distracted. A Dark Souls game, the way I describe, like, if I wanted to talk about the genre that Dark Souls has popularized, so Demon Souls, Bloodborne, Sekiro, Dark Souls, Elden Ring, and all the alternatives that we've gotten where people are like, oh, this is a Souls-like or a Souls-like. I don't like using those kinds of phrases very often. I want to try and stop myself from saying Souls-like, but the way I would describe the combat is that it's a third-person stamina-based stamina animation-based combat. So what this means is that your attacks, or your attacks, whether ranged, melee, magic, or what have you, there's a resource to it. Stamina is going to be like the closest way to describe it. So then that way, you're not just, button mashing like insane like you would in, say, Batman or Mortal Kombat, or it's resource management, much like your guns in, say, Call of Duty and what have you. So that's the first bit. Now, if you look at it on that kind of standpoint, between Dark Souls and Armored Core, they're very much the same. Your energy system in Armored Core is very much like your stamina in Armored Core is very much your energy. It will refill. It refills quicker when you don't bottom out, but you can bottom out. Dark Souls, you have your energy and you have your magic, and then you have your Estus Flask and what have you. Ignoring the whole Estus Flask thing of like, oh, however many heals you need, yada yada, because as they demonstrated in Dark Souls 2, you can get Estus Flasks may not be the healing thing. It might be life stones instead, but we still call it a Dark Souls game. So it's obviously not the Estus Flask. The Metroidvania aspects of it are really great. Stop looking at my ass. The Metroid aspects are really great, but it's not a requirement, as we can see with Armored Core. Where the differences of Armored Core and a lot of Dark Souls games arise, however, is in the long term. Because in Armored Core 6, some people have told me it's like, oh no, there is a build you can do that is just, committing from one to another. I'm like, that's technically true. Technically speaking, you can finish Dark Souls 1 never touching items, or only touching items, or only doing what's-mahoozies and such like that. My argument for where Armored Core separates is that the build makes the game easier in some aspects or another. So the idea of committing to, oh, I am a kinetic Armored Core with reverse joint. You don't need to stick to that the entire game through. And there's no repercussions from starting with reverse joint kinetic, what's-mahoozy? Cookie for Jason, welcome back from dinner. Rather than, you don't get any repercussions from trying one build out and switching to another. It's only in Elden Ring recently that we've had From Software decide to give you a little bit of a system where it's like, oh, if you've committed incorrectly to the wrong stats, that's okay, you can rebuild it. So that's where I see the differences and such like that. And it's a little bit unfortunate that, given how Armored Core 6 is going, we're still having the same arguments as earlier, which is the whole you just need to get good, it's a skill issue. I'm like, look, I do not subscribe to, oh, it just get good and all that kind of shit, okay? Like, we get this conversation every time we get it from Software. I think it is safe to say it is from Software. It's not a skill issue. I think we can move past that conversation. The bigger issue is right now, Songbird and Zimmerman, everyone makes that kind of build and what have you. It's like, you know, the Blood Rivers dexterity build, where that's sort of memed upon. But there's alternatives to work with and what have you to make that, you know, in Elden Ring and what have you. But here in Armored Core, all I hear about as far as like meme meta builds is Songbird Zimmerman and how to counter Songbird Zimmerman. There's no other, like, oh, going as a tank dual, like, machine gun thing. Like, none of them go with that. Instead, they're like, oh, no, it's shotgun you go with your Zimmerman shotguns and your Songbirds on the shoulder, and if you deal with that person, then you have to make something to counter it. There's nothing about it, like, doing something else. You can get good, or you can strap on your tank treads and stun needles. I will probably give that one a try another time. Oh. I am losing sight of this person, like, way too often.
50%. AP at 30%.
Raven, we're in danger.
Focus, 621. You have to focus.
That's probably one of my more personal, like, pet peeves, is when lasers like that go off. Boost your energy, defense, etc. Does scanning tell you this thing's weakness? Nope. Hard lock, buddy. What do you think I'm doing? Hard locking is kind of difficult once they decide to, like, you know... There we go, hard locking. Oh. The minute this thing decides to go anywhere outside of my screen, we're gonna have problems.
Listen up, 621. The Ibis series are no ordinary weapons. They're designed to prevent coral disasters.
Oh, there we go. Lost it again.
Measure to keep Rubicon safe. And now their original masters are long gone.
Oh.
Destroy it before it destroys you.
Oh, that is the first time I skipped that thing.
We won't get many chances to lay the direct hit, but I know you can find a way.
Am I hard locking? Oh, Jesus, where'd you go? Oh.
Can't take much more of this.
AP at 50%. AP
Oh.
at 30%.
Where the hell? Oh, Jesus.
Focus, 621. You have 621. Ah, damn it. Not like this.
Oh, this person is a person. Don't click the right stick. That's the lock. Yeah, well, if I'm moving, it's gonna click by accident. We're gonna give it another try. Let's just... Oop.
It's controlled by Coral too.
Listen up, 621. The Ibis series are no ordinary weapons. They're designed to prevent coral disasters. A security...
Okay, amazingly enough, the hard lock has been... Oh.
Now their original masters are long gone. Destroy it before it destroys you.
It's taking damage, Raven. We won't get many chances to lay the direct hit. I know you can find a way.
AP at 30%.
Raven, we're in danger.
Oh, I lost my... Wait.
621. You have to focus. Keep it up, 621. Can't take much more of this.
AP at 30%.
621.
Still had 2 repair kits as well to help me out. That is not a slug cannon. You lied to me. It is a cannon. It's a shotgun. The entire point of scanning is the only point for scanning for this one is being able to see behind walls sometimes. So like
It's not just powered by Coral. I think it's controlled by Coral too.
lost sight of it again. because I didn't lock in.
The Ibis series are no ordinary.
There we go. Oh.
They're designed to prevent coral disasters. A security measure to keep Rubicon safe. And now their original masters are long gone. Destroy it before it destroys you.
AP at 50%.
Oh, there we go.
AP at 30%.
Raven, we're in danger.
Focus, 621. You have to focus.
AP at 50%. One repair kit remaining.
Oh, damn it! It's when I flick the stick that it decides to be like, oh, you're not.
AP at 30%.
I'm too far.
AP at 50%.
Oh no 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 no! Oh, come on come on come on come on! Darn it! Oh. Coral is like the energy on this thingamajiggy. Stun needles do a crap ton of damage to Ibis when it's
Syra,
stunned.
you paid me to say focus. 621. You have to focus. AP at AP at AP at 621. No.
Just decided to use the songbird ahead of time there.
Listen up, 621. The Ibis series are no ordinary weapons. They're designed to prevent coral disasters. A security measure to keep Rubicon safe. And now their original masters are long gone. Destroy it before it destroys you.
It's taking damage, Raven. You won't get any chance to throw the direct hit, but I know you can find a way.
AP at 50%. 2 repair kits remaining.
Keep it up, 621. Can't take much more of this.
Yes!
50%.
Woo!
Enemy coral response. Silent.
Yeah! Are good all around, but not really that strong of a punish.
It's coming back.
What?
Syra, you paid me to say time for phase 2.
Oh, that's bullshit. You did not predict that coming. Oh, Jesus Christ. Why?
It won't stop until we destroy its generator.
Oh.
AP at 30%.
You can take it, 621.
Focus, Raven.
Do I even get like the checkpoint at like 50% at the phase 2, or am I just gonna have to deal with the fact that it? Oh Jesus!
Damn it! Not like this.
Alrighty. I love how it's like mission failure. All right, let's see. Am I back at phase 1? Is the question. Yeah, I'm back at phase 1.
It's not just powered by coral. I think it's controlled by coral too.
Syra, you paid me to say get ready for phase 3 also, and maybe phase 4.
I will be annoyed if there's a phase 3. Like, I know comedy comes in threes, but let me be real with you. I am not ready for From Software thinking they're being comedic with 3 phases.
And now their original masters are long gone. Destroy it before it destroys you.
It's taking damage, Raven. You won't get many chances throwing the direct hit. But I know you can find a way.
Keep it up, 621. It can't take much more of this.
AP at 50%.
Oh.
AP at 30%.
Raven, we're in danger.
Focus, 621. You have to focus.
Oh.
Enemy coral response. Silent.
1 repair kit remaining.
Wait. It's coming back.
Do I care for a difficulty spoiler? Maybe.
Is this what the Ibis series is truly capable of?
Oh god, when is the next bar coming up?
Drawing power from its environment. It won't stop until we destroy its generator. Enemy has taken significant damage. I'm picking up a powerful enemy resonance. But there's an imperative to protect the core.
AP at 30%.
You can take it, 621.
Fuck, I lost sight of it. There we go.
You've nearly got it, 621.
I don't think I do.
One who can finish the job.
AP at 30%.
What is this shit? Oh god damn you!
Light and ammunition at 50%.
Oh god damn you, come on! Yes! Mmm! After the environment voice cue, you can heard it. Nice. I just waited for it to... Ugh. Oh, it only took me...
Sorry you paid me to say phase 3.
Don't you fucking dare. Don't you dare.
It's fading.
Just die.
The machine's resolve, inherited from its creators.
Just die.
Voices from the past, fading into...
Oh, shit.
Raven, you're losing control.
Well, that was bullshit, getting fucking electrocuted. Also, how do you like my paint job, Snippy? You right? All my homies hate Snail. I believe you on that one.
Yes, yes. I left the subject alive as instructed.
That's Snail, isn't it? With his fucking electrical thing.
Try to outfox Arquebus. I'll see that the unruly dog is punished and brought to heel.
Why do you have that emoji?
Oh, and of course, let's not forget the Hound's master either.
Great Scott. We're alive! We cleared the mission, reached the Coral Convergence. Yes, and we got ourselves the Lightwave Blade Moonlight because I opened a chest. I had to open that chest twice because I died the last time before the next checkpoint went in. I'm glad to see that I'm able to keep the, like, once I hit another checkpoint after opening the chest, I hold on to the thingy-majiggy. And I'm so close with the hunt log. God damn it, I probably only need like 2 more of the bronze to level up.
Arquebus seized control of the coral.
Of course they did.
Forces swiftly commandeered the entirety of Institute City. There, they discovered a wealth of forgotten relics. Among them, experimental weapons that the Institute kept secret, fearing they were beyond human control. A group of sea weapons bearing the name of the Central Coral Control System.
4C.
The Ibis series.
Oh no, god damn it!
Arquebus also claimed a towering coral siphon, abandoned since the fires. The vascular plant. Now, they toiled to...
I don't have Snilk because I don't like snails.
Beyond Rubicon's atmosphere.
Syri, you paid me to say Syri, you snilk, Syri, you snilk, Syri, you snilk, Syri, you snilk, Syri, you snilk.
And the fires of war continued to smolder as the end drew near.
Oof. pain. Real painful shit there.
Raven? I found a message addressed to you.
Oh. Well, that's nice.
Decoding and playing back.
Hopefully it's an escape plan. Because I'm probably being apprehended.
621. A friend of mine sent a request. No. This one comes from me.
Did all of them come from you, or they were just friends earlier?
What hidden dangers lurk within the coral? The fires of Ibis should have wiped the coral out, but it survived. Gathered, and it's been steadily multiplying ever since. Now the coral convergence is growing at an exponential rate. Eventually, it'll spill out from Rubicon and contaminate space itself. The coral must be burned, 621. Even if that means reigniting the fire that scorched the stars. This isn't an order. It's a legacy. My fallen friends entrusted this duty to me, and now it's my turn to hand it on. 621. Feed the fire. Let the last cinders burn. I have one last job for you. Find your freedom.
Yay! Freedom as a augmented human stuck inside an armored core.
I finally understand what Walter was thinking.
Is that chapstick?
I see. He must have foreseen this outcome and prepared for it. It's time for us to escape.
Oh, that's not our armor. That's not Chatstick. That's someone else's armored core. I thought it was Chatstick.
Main system activating combat mode.
Whose fucking mech is this? You'll use an older gen AC instead of your usual craft for this mission. This AC is made from junk parts and its performance leaves much to be desired. Hold to rapid fire the right hand machine gun and left bumper for the scatter bazooka.
I found some coordinates in the AC systems.
Well, it scans the same as any others.
Showing us the way out.
Why do I feel like this was going to be the intro? Like right at the get-go where it's like, light the cinders and putting us on an older AC thingy-majiggy with only the right trigger and the right bumper. This is just the opening of Dark Souls, but in like a sci-fi more thingamadoog.
Is that an AC? Where'd it come from? That piece of scrap's alive. Is that Institute tech?
You should avoid combat as much as possible, Raven. I'm afraid this AC is no match for your abilities.
Yeah, they got that right. Your health is so small. Oh my god, 6,000 health. You are absolutely right. You are absolutely right. The health is minimal. Jamming rounds. Jamming rounds rupture on impact, creating an area of effect that rupture targets. The AC is equipped with a jamming round launcher and its left hand.
We're at a disadvantage. Let's find a way around them.
Yeah, this is like...
If they do spot you, your left-hand weapon is equipped with jamming rounds.
Hey you, get back to work.
Wait, they're not with us.
Let's see if he's gonna follow us. Go. Not that way.
PCM! Damn it, I can't lock on.
Raven, now's our chance.
Testing new components. Oh, neaties. Oh yeah, no, he's not. He's way too strong.
Here's our way back to the surface. This AC should have just enough propulsion.
1 repair kit remaining.
No, he does not. Okay, he did not have enough propulsion. Oh, fuck. Oh, god damn you. God damn you! Disrupt their aim with a jammer. Nah, I think if you kill him, you get OP loot. I don't know if it works that way.
Is this the outskirts of Institute City?
This is B5 Pater, calling all security team members. Raven, the independent mercenary subject to re-education, is on the run. I have direct orders from B2 Snail. Capture Raven and send the fugitive to the factory this time.
Raven, Arquebus is on high alert. Use our scanner to evade combat situations.
Alrighty. Yeah, they put the beginner gen in this pile. Yeah, look, this Snippy. This feels like the Asylum like tutorial area. Like, am I wrong in thinking that? Like, given like how it's like, oh, we just got ramped down to here, and it's like, oh, here's like we've got our here's a mech where it has like a very oop, fuck.
Is that Raven?
We can take that rusty old AC. Shut it down.
Shit.
Left shoulder ammunition at 50%.
Yeah, I hear you. Fuck.
We'll be in trouble if they spot us.
Unidentified AC.
I remember this map.
Syra, you paid me to say unidentified air conditioner unit. We must take it down because it is a health code violation.
Yes. Yes,
We're
it
not far
is.
from our destination, Raven. What's this? I've checked. It's not a trap.
Nice. What is it?
Emergency beacon intercepted.
Chatty stick!
Good to see you're still kicking.
Nice.
Chief's coming to pick you up. Head to the rendezvous point.
Alright.
She's from RAD. Carla. She must be involved with Walter's mission.
Oh, shit. Oh, you son of a bitch. That what do you mean? Ah, yeah.
This is the rendezvous.
I couldn't just snip that corner, could I?
Enemies detected.
Oh.
We found Raven. Close the noose.
This is B5 Pater. I'm exercising my authority to revise your orders. You are authorized to use lethal force. The fugitive's survival is not mission critical. Just eliminate Raven at all costs.
Raven, there's too many of them. Wait, I'm picking up something else.
Hello? Is this yeah, this is my first run.
Having a little trouble?
Carla.
Hey, Carla.
Walter. He asked me to look after you.
Oh, that was nice of him.
I do.
Company. It's another AC. I'm reading. You're 18. Joe's junkyard?
That's Carla's AC. She's backing us up, Raven.
I don't just design weapons, you know. You'll see what I mean.
There's a lot of them, Chief, but they're just MTs. You should have let me handle this. RAD needs you in one piece.
You're missing the point, Chatty. This is our tourist grand escape. Looks like we're clear. Better book it before more company shows up.
Sending a chopper. We retrieved the tourist's AC too.
Nice.
Once we've caught our breath.
I'll only offer that please play through the game all 3 times. We'll come out till the end. Okay, I've been told this by Avalon Hoss, like one of the viewers in here, and I'ma be real with you. I'm probably only gonna play it the 1 time. Like, I understand that, like, the whole, like, gimmick thingamadiggy, like, because there's, like, 3 different endings. There's the Rubicon Liberation ending, there's the Capitalist Corporation ending, and then there's a 3rd secret ending where you can, you know, after you've done both of the missions and you've done the secret missions, there's an entirely different mission or something or rather. I understand it's, like, but you're not gonna catch me on stream doing this game 3 times, I'm sorry to say. I know exactly how From Software likes to play New Game Plus and New Game Plus Plus. They just up the fucking damage, and then the bosses have an entirely different fucking whatsamahoozy, entirely different combos and mechanics. They don't what? 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 So New Game Plus Plus is you just have the same items and then you just go through the story. They don't up the damages or the healths or anything like that. It is literally just they can't because it's not level based. Yeah, but it's equipment based. They could have easily introduced equipment that was like different.
Walter made the right bet. All right. You deserve to know what we've been fighting.
They have different bosses entirely.
I'll get you introduced with the next mission.
There are now new parts to purchase. Oh my goodness. This is our AC. What do you think? Hang on a second. Purchase the sniper rifle. Part shops. We got the linear rifle Harris. We got a different shotgun. We got this giant fucking ass handgun. Ooh, a needle gun. What does this do? A semi-auto that fires special needle shape, providing a good balance of... That is really fast. Let's see, we got a different grenade launcher, we got laser rifles, we got the laser shotgun, we got the split missile system, and then over in the left hand, we've got another linear rifle. Ooh, laser dagger? Nice. The explosive thrower. Dun, dun. The colors look very sporty. That's nice of you to say, because they look very Buzz Lightyear if you catch. All right, split system, plasma cannon. I think that's worth holding. And then we got the pulse shield launcher, the diffuse. Ooh! And then we got... Oh yeah, because that's what we were using previously. And then let's see, we got this split system. The dual launch... Okay. And then we have this giant ass fucking missile launcher. It's a little bit faster. Container... What? Weird. Okay. And then the laser turret. Might as well get the laser turret while we're at it. I think I already have the stun needle on one side, but... Ooh, actually. Ding. look at some of these heads. So fucking weird. ADD, incorporating cutting edge. And we have like so many fucking bipedals. Reverse joint. Tetra. Hey, it's the boat tank. Good fights. I need to head off, and not to worry, Snippy. Thank you for coming in and raiding into the stream. I really appreciate it. I will grab the boat because that is fucking hilarious. Let's see. A new system. Yes, please. Circulating current. Interesting. Oh, it's always fucking misleading when they decide to just throw you these things and they throw them to like the small fry instead of the big fry. Laser dagger, laser lance, linear rifles. Might as well grab you, so then that way we can have like 2 rockets in each hand. And all our money is gone. I can buy the heads another time. Let's see how we go with, I want to try this guy again. Here we go. Let's go do it.
Evaluation program number 5, rank A.
Yep.
Main system activating combat mode.
There we go. Another one bites the dust.
Concluding evaluation. Well done.
Nice. Cool beans. Less than 30 seconds to get rid of him as well. God, so many of the heads just overburden me. Alright, AC data. Dun, 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 dun. Save you. Arena. Oh my god, so that's King, Michigan, and Freud. So those are like the last ones. And then we've got Thumb Dolmayan, father of the Rubicon Liberation Front, veteran military commander, and founder of the School of the Choral Mysticism. Interesting. OS tuning, meanwhile. Alright, the direct modifiers are good. Explosives, we can't up you yet. We can increase the energy or the melee weapons if we want. Damage control, meanwhile. Previous missions. So we didn't get all of the battle logs from that. Or from that. Or from that. So we're missing 2 battle logs. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8. A lot of them are going to be ones involving bosses, I've come to find out. So those might be worthwhile pursuing in my own time to increase my hunter rank. 8:53. I think I am going to leave it to this. I think that will be the end of the stream tonight, because then otherwise I am going to be a little bit cranky. I got cranky with that last boss chapter thingy-majiggy. I'm gonna be real with you guys. Just a wee bit cranky. Just a wee bit. Alrighty then. We are gonna go on a little raid. Let's see. We got Sagi, we got Koz. Oh, hold on. Let's see. I just have like so many different things playing right now. Seeing what there is. Let's see. He's doing his thing. Hey! What you doing? What are you doing stealing my shirt so late into the night? Gosh darn you. Alrighty, we have not raided into... I don't like the look of his VTuber. Who else is online? They're sleeping and what have you. You know what? We're gonna go raid into Wolk. They are right now celebrating their 1,000 follower, and they're doing a 12-hour long stream. So they've only gone 9 hours in. They've got another 3 hours to go. So we're gonna try and give them a little more energy as we go and raid into them. So we're gonna wish them a congrats on 1K. Where's the beef? That is going to be our raid message as we go and raid into Wolk. So if you'll join with me on that one, I'd really appreciate it. The next time I'm going to be streaming is going to be Wednesday night. Although I'm going to be real with you, I don't know if I do want to do that. But I want to try. Wednesday night is either going to be more Armored Core, or we're going to go into the Lies of P and see how we are with that one. I might make it a poll for those who are interested in, who come into the stream at the start, if they're interested, seeing what we go for and such. Because I can go with either one, because Armored Core, it's like we're sort of approaching the end of Armored Core 6. Lies of P, we've not gone really far with. And it's one of those games that I was like, all right, I got to put some time into it. Is it worth playing? Yes or no? And then Friday night is D&D night. So it's still a packed sort of week for streaming this week before I go on break next week or the week after. But otherwise, I want to say thank you everyone who came along to tonight's stream. I greatly appreciate it. And I hope you'll all join with me as we go raid into Wolkhond. And hopefully see you all next time. Bye for now.